Hello, and welcome to the Bury Me Alive podcast.
I'm your host, Technicality.
And I'm your host, Ghostly. We're doing so good today. Daylight savings.
Great.
Freaking hate daylight savings. I dislike the government for many reasons, and daylight savings is included in those reasons. What are we talking about?
I don't know. This is your episode?
I've been hiding this from Cal. Today's episode is another episode of Ghostly Info Dumping.
Yay!
Yay! Please give us some good name ideas. I've been trying to workshop these, and I can't find any, clever, fun, witty titles for them. Today, we're going to be talking about a little series called Sandersides. Do you know what that is?
Yep.
So Sandersides is a series by the amazing, lovely, wonderful, show-stopping, never-been-done-before, gorgeous, amazing, incredible human being known as Thomas Sanders.
Wow,
I just pulled a Lady Gaga with that one. In that one interview with Lady Gaga, and she's like, incredible, show-stopping, never-been-done-before, unique, amazing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
I make too many gay pop culture references. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, first, who the heck's Thomas Sanders? Thomas Sanders is the person who I've gotten half of my personality from, is how I like to put it. So he began making content on Vine, R.I.P., and was insanely popular on the platform, and then, after Vine passed away, R.I.P., he switched to making YouTube videos. And I started off with Thomas on Vine. I'm an OG. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Thank you. I know it's an honor to have come this far. So I started watching Thomas on Vine, 12? He started on Vine 12 years ago, so I've been watching him for about 10 to 9 years? Oh, God. 10 to 9 years. That's crazy. I haven't thought about that. So, in summary, I've been following Thomas for a very long time, and I remember when the first episode of Sandersides came out. So thank you, Thomas. And Sandersides is a series he started with a video that was basically him just being like, who the heck am I? And we meet different facets of his personality portrayed in different characters. So here is a quick character lowdown, aka Logan's Lowdown. Show reference. The first character, and one of my personal favorites, I may or may not have a sticker of them on my mirror, is Logan, also known as Logic. He represents Thomas's logic and all the sides' names, which makes it really fun. Then there's Morality, whose name is Patton, who I have a sticker of on my laptop. I have a lot of stickers of Sandersides characters.
You have a lot of stickers in general.
Touche. But Patton is like the bubbly dad of the group and of Thomas's personality. Then there's Roman, who's known as the fanciful side, who I actually don't think I have any stickers of.
Oh, wow.
That is not true. I do have a sticker of him. But Roman is English. Roman represents creativity and positive creativity. I want to point that out. I'll get into that in a minute. And he's also Thomas's ego and all that fun stuff. And he literally is represented by Prince, so it tracks. Then There's our favorite dark strange son, Virgil, who represents anxiety, and he's really fun. We actually don't meet Virgil until like the second or third episode of Santa Sides. And that episode is so funny because he just shows up and everyone's like, who the heck are you? And he's like, I'm anxiety. And they're like, no, you're not. It's really fun. And then that's like the 4 main cast. But within the past, the show's been going on for 5 years, by the way. I believe they were introduced 3 years ago. There are 2 other sides. And those are Janus, who represents deceit and lies, and he's a slimy boy. And then there's our favorite garbage poo-poo man, Remus, who represents dark creativity. So he is Roman's twin brother, and he represents intrusive thought.
Yay.
The reason I'm going into Sander sides for this episode is because it has, well, Thomas has in general helped me a lot, but Sander sides has specifically helped me a lot. They talk about mental health and just natural human experiences really regularly, and the way they do it is they do research. So there's like actual information on how to help your mental health in the show, done through a funny approach. And I have genuinely quoted and used things I've learned from Sander sides to work with my therapist. So as the show progresses and we see Thomas progress as a person, we get into the storyline part. And I want to quickly talk about the difference between Roman and Remus, aka positive creativity and dark creativity. If you want to actually learn things for yourself instead of having some random man on the internet tell you about things, go watch Dealing with Intrusive Thoughts. So
That's some random person on the internet.
Well, it's the actual video. I'm talking about the source material instead of just some random guy telling them what the thing shows. Leave me be. Let me do my thing. So the episode focuses on Roman and Remus, mainly Remus, and they're talking about how Thomas having a religious upbringing has affected his idea of creativity and how that's why they're split in 2. So to him, Remus is bad. So he's graphic, he swears. Roman also swears, so I don't know what the deal with that is. Anyway, and he is everything that when as a kid in the church, Thomas was taught bad. No. But Roman is the type of creativity that's highlighted with Disney films and rainbows and glitter and all that stuff. So being raised with this double standard of what is right and what's wrong they talk about how that messed him up, and Thomas is still religious. He's still a Christian. But through the episode, we get to feel and see him realize, okay, so that stuff was messed up, but this is okay. This guy's okay. And honestly, Remus makes the funniest content in the series. I said it. I'm sorry, but unicorn, corn, and rats impaled, that, I play Forbidden Fruit in the back of my head 24/7. I'm sorry, I'm not listening to you. I'm playing Forbidden Fruit with the Duke in the back of my head. I state how it is. The garbage man has corrupted me.
That is the sentence. Take that out of context.
I have so many lines in this episode that are just going to be quoted. So the way that they deal with the dilemmas is it's basically just Thomas talking to himself. And they rarely break the fourth wall on that because all of them are separate characters. There's the occasional moment where they do break that, like, fourth wall. And the way they do it, it's not just done with, oh, okay, let's break the fourth wall. No, they do it in tastefully. Alright? In an episode, selflessness versus shellfish? Selfishness versus selflessness. Selfishness versus shut up. Selfishness versus selflessness. The episode, they make a joke. They're in a courtroom scenario, in like a courtroom setting. They're going through a moral dilemma. I'll explain. I'm going to get into that episode again in a minute. But Janice, Deceit, basically just calls out. He's like, you're not actually in a courtroom. You're sitting on the couch with your eyes closed. And it cuts to Thomas sitting on the couch with his eyes closed going, well, I know it, but why say it? And those moments they do it are really funny. There's also a line from Patton, aka King of Dad Jokes, where he says, careful with that fourth wall over there, it's fragile. Because Virgil says something, and he's just like, oh, careful with the fourth wall, it's fragile. And the way the show writes everything in general is done in a way that is super efficient. The show, the writing is done by Thomas, obviously, but also it's done by someone named Joan, who, if you've seen Thomas, you've likely seen Joan. They're basically the same person. And Joan has now left the team. And something Thomas has talked about is how it was hard for him to get back into Sandersons without Joan's writing there. And while it's still an amazing show, some of my favorite episodes of the show, I will say, are the ones where Joan, you can tell when he has a little more creative leeway in the episodes. A good example of this is Dealing with Intrusive Thoughts. Because Joan has kind of a dark sense of humor, and apparently they were the one who pitched a lot of the stuff that Remus says in that episode. And their writing on the show is just amazing. So thank you, Joan. Just wanted to call them out positively. The way that the show also handles mental health is done very, very well. I mentioned that Virgil represents anxiety. They have an episode called Accepting Anxiety, which is actually a 2-part episode. And it's kind of where we see Virgil become a member of the crew, because through the whole thing, Roman and Virgil have this running bit where they just bully each other. It's not a bit, they just bully each other. And we find out that it's making Virgil feel just very unwelcome. And so he decides to completely remove himself.
Oh.
Just no anxiety. Period. Which, no, we need our Dark Strange son. And with that, we see Thomas with zero anxiety. And oh my god, is it a train wreck? Because here's the thing about anxiety. It's also fear. And people, we as humans need fear. Alright? If we didn't have fear or anxiety on this show, it would look a lot different, to put it simply. And there's also no shame without anxiety. So when Thomas has no shame, he just takes his pants off. I'm not kidding. He's just like, no one can see it. It's fine. And Patton's like, you put some pants on, mister. It's great. But through the episode, they talk about how, for Thomas, while anxiety might be heightened than some other people, it's still manageable for him. He's still able to do things, and it doesn't completely alter every single thing he does. And they call out at the end of the episode that that's not the case for everyone. That people's anxiety levels differ, and no matter what, they need to make sure you're good. And I remember at the end of that episode, they give resources to different mental health call centers and help centers that you can contact if you needed help. And I remember watching that episode and seeing the acknowledgement that it's not as simple for everyone to just be like, hey, you're cool, come on. Because I was at a point where I couldn't go about my day-to-day life. And so that stuff, the way they handle it is they don't just write one experience. They write an experience and acknowledge the rest. And that's so cool, dude. Write actual, like, when you're writing a show, do that. It's not that hard. Please. I'm looking at you, Netflix.
Oh, calling out the Netflix.
I'm calling out all of the stupid streaming capitalist services and all that. I'm also calling out Disney. I see you. Come on. Anyway. However, the show isn't just amazing. I could go on rambling about how amazing everything else of it is. But the 3 highlights of why the show is amazing from the show itself is the writing, the casting, aka Thomas, and the creativity behind it and the acknowledgement and how they work through the issues of day-to-day life. But there is another thing that truly makes the show amazing that actually isn't in the show. And that is the fandom. I'm talking about it. There is a content creator by the name Colleen Does Stuff, I believe is their handle. Hang on. Well, my computer just decided not to do that, so never mind. But there's a content creator who talks about the different fandoms, and she has an episode on what's like entering the Sandersides fandom, and it's just so freaking accurate. And Thomas himself responded to that. He was like, I honestly had no idea how positive this community was. If you are someone who has experienced fandom culture as a seasoned veteran in the art, I can confirm that Sandersides is the safest fandom out of all of the fandoms. It is safer than the Percy Jackson fandom. And that says something. It is safer than the Haikyuu fandom. And that also says something. It is the most positive community online. And there's a few things that we're doing right. 1, not stealing artist artwork. It's that simple. It's really not that hard, people. Just credit your artist and don't steal their stuff. I have never seen artwork. I'm sure it exists somewhere. But personally, I have never seen artwork that has not been credited to the correct original artist. And there was one time, actually, that I saw it corrected. It was credited to the wrong artist. And someone was like, hey, just so you know, this is not the right artist, this is. And so the person just corrected and was like, thanks for letting me know. It's that simple. Don't steal people's art. It's great. And a similar thing with writing. If there's a lot of good fan fiction. And with all of those, it's not like, I wrote this, but it's definitely not plagiarized. Wink, wink. Like, if they quote things from other stories, or if they got the idea from another creator, they were like, hey, I got this idea from blank. Go check them out. And now enjoy what I did, but also enjoy what they do. And it's just such a genuinely positive community. One part that I've seen some people be a bit iffy about from outside of the community is the shipping part of the community. For those of you who don't know what shipping is, 1, you're probably on the wrong podcast. 2, it is... a ship is short for relationship, and it's basically pairing 2 characters together. Don't ship real people, by the way. Like, that's gross, dude. I've seen, like, people make fan art of people who are couples online, and they've been like, hey, you can do this. That's fine. But if you see 2 content creators, don't pair them together. That's weird, dude. It's one thing if it's, like, a running bit that they have, like Tubbo and Tommy in it, and, like, they openly make jokes about it themselves. Or, like, so, who was it that had a thing with Markiplier? There's a joke ship with Markiplier that, like, they fed the bit with. Stuff like that. That's one thing. But please don't ship real people. Huh?
As long as you're joking. And don't ship the real people, and make sure you...
Yes, like, those are very clearly jokes. And those people have been like, hey, we're okay with this. Unless they're specifically like, hey, we're good with this. Don't. However, with the characters, honestly, do what you want as long as you're not really creepy with it, I guess. Just don't be a pedophile. So, something that is controversial is that there are ships in the Sandersides community, but all of them are Thomas, because they're all played by Thomas. And all of the sides are Thomas. They're just different facets of his personality. So sometimes it gets a bit wonky, a bit whack, a bit bananas. I'm trying to think of other words for weird. But Thomas has said he's chill with it. And this man adds kindling to a fire that was already highly ablaze. In the video, the sides need a nice day. The pairings he does for the video are the 3 most popular ships in the entire show. He knows this. He knows that Patton and Logan, aka Morality and Logic, are heavily shipped. He knows that Virgil and Roman, Creativity and Anxiety, are heavily shipped. He knows that Janice and Remus, aka Deceit, and Dark Creativity are heavily shipped. And he really put all of those partners together for the video. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever watched. Just calling that out. But he also will call out the shippers in one video at the end card. Patton is talking with the other sides, and he specifically calls out, he's like, there's a lot of neato artwork of us online. Hey, do you guys know what a ship is? And Logan's like, really, Morality? Not even you know that? Like, even Roman knows that. It's a transport made for water travel. And Patton, and I kid you not, says, oh, okay. It sure doesn't look like that, but okay. He found that side of Tumblr. So if we ignore all of those parts of the shipping, it has the most positive community with that because people are respectful of other people's pairings. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. There's only one pairing that everybody has accepted is wrong, and that's Roman and Remus, because they're literally brothers. So fair enough. But with every other ship, everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's good. That's fine. You're good. Enjoy that. I like this one, but you enjoy that. And they're like, okay, you like that one, I like that one. That's fine. We're chill. It's just such a chill community that I just wanted to ramble about it for an episode. So that's why we're here. And I have 20 million more thoughts on the show, but we only have so much time on these episodes, and I think y'all should just go watch the show yourselves. I said it. Go watch Sandersides. Go on. It was nice having you here. Please stay for our outro, but it was nice having you here. Thank you.
Go watch Sandersides?
And be a good person. Ow. Just hurt myself. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of the Bury Me Alive podcast. And as a reminder, I'm your host, Ghostly.
And I'm your host, Technicality.
This episode was very different than what we usually do. So if you want to go check out what else we do, warning you, this is a murder encrypted show. So you've been warned before you click on our page. Just listening to this show is so much support to us. But if you want to support us further, there's ways you can do that. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, you can go ahead and press that like button. You know where it is. Press that subscribe button. You also know where that is. And leave us a comment for the sake of engagement. As long as you're kind and not creepy. Actually, creepy is welcome. As long as you're kind, go ahead and leave a comment.
You can be mean to me. Don't be mean to Ghostly.
No, don't be mean, period. I will block you. Okay. And if you're listening on Spotify, let us know what you thought of this episode with our little Q&A feature. And rate our show by pressing that little star button, because it helps us out and helps more people see our silly little ramblings. And we hope to hear and see you guys again sometime soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.